With 8 and maybe even 9 works teams fighting it out for the silverware this year, the Auto Trader RAC Touring Car Championship is one of the toughest motor racing contests on earth to win. You can spend literally millions of pounds trying to win it. Believe me, most of these guys do. But if you think you can do a McLaren and just bolt away from the rest of them, you've got another thing coming.
Yeah, but Charlie, there's a problem here. Last year, somebody forgot to show Renault, Williams and Alan Menu the script.
I'm a burning effigy of everything I used to be. You're my rock of empathy, my dear. So come on, let me entertain you. Let me.
Menu came out of the box flying, clean sweeping the first 4 races. Adding 8 more and wrapping up his first BTCC title with 6 races still to run. And if the trophy cabinet wasn't already bursting, Jason Plato took 3rd in the points, Renault the manufacturer's title and Williams the team's crown. Defending champion Frank Biela finished the best of the rest, taking 5 wins in his Audi A4 Quattro before heading to pastures new this year.
Honda, Volvo and Nissan all showed flashes of brilliance through the year, if not the required level of consistency. Meanwhile, Peugeot, Vauxhall and Ford were all locked in their own tough battles to get back with the leaders.
We're talking about tenths between the heroes and the zeros, but in the end it was all about one man and one team. This season, Renault keeps the same driver lineup, the same Williams team, and the same mighty Laguna. The biggest change is probably the swap from yellow to green paint.
We'll have to wait for the first 2 meetings and then we'll know a bit more who is quick and who isn't. But I know I've got a good car again, good package, so I'm going to win some races. Now whether I'm going to win a championship or not, time will tell.
Well, it's the 3rd year that Williams have been preparing the Lagunas. A lot of people seem to be catching you up. Are you going to have the advantage still?
I think, to be honest, I think last year on some tracks we were not the quickest car. But we ended up winning a championship because we made less mistakes than the other guys. So hopefully this year will be the same.
If it sounds like business as usual, there's one big change that's guaranteed to shake up the pack this year.
Each round is now split into a sprint race and a longer feature race, which has a compulsory 2-tyre pit stop. And that adds a whole raft of unknowns into the mix.
Don't think pit stops are going to be the only thing that's going to spoil the Renault juggernaut in 1998. Every team through the winter has been working flat out to ensure Alan Menu doesn't have another party. And one of those teams is Nissan. David Leslie and Anthony Reid are with the team for another year. They've got the continuity, and in many people's eyes, they are the dark horses for this year's championship.
I believe that this second season for us is going to be a much better season than we had last year. We've got the continuity which is going to play in our favour, and we're looking forward to some very successful races this year.
Honda's hot too, with James Thompson the king of the winter test wars.
It's been really good to be quickest in most of the tests so far this year, but with the series being changed a little bit, and obviously it's a little bit into the unknown this year. I don't think anybody goes into the year thinking, oh right, well I'm going to go through the year steadily and I'm going to try and finish 3rd. No, I'm going to try and win the series, and it's always easy if you're leading races from the front. It's a lot easier than having to battle through from the pack, and we seem to have the pace to be able to run at the front. So hopefully stay out of trouble and keep racking those points up, and hopefully at the end of the day it'll net me the championship.
Alongside James Thompson this year is the Dutchman Peter Cox. Now Peter gives up GT racing for the 2nd Honda hot seat this year. Peter is replacing the much like Gabriele Tarquini. He was the Formula 1 driver and also the 1994 champion when he drove for Alfa.
But as one Italian ex-Formula 1 driver departs, it's a big welcome to another. Gianni Morbidelli from Sauber and from Ferrari is joining Rickard Rydell at Volvo.
There are a lot of pretenders, and but I don't want to be a number. I did in the beginning of the season this choice because I was a little bit tired to be a number in Formula 1. So if I'm here, I'm in England in this moment for racing touring car, is because I want to be on top. The main problem for me is to change country. I have my parents there, I have my girlfriend there, so I need to spend some time with them as well. And I have another little problem that I don't know if it's little, the food. I cannot live without my spaghetti, so I need to find the time for going to Italy and to eat a good plate of spaghetti.
Vauxhall wheels out the F1 talent as well. Derek Warwick again teamed with double BTCC champion John Cleland. On the track, the team knows it needs to start winning again.
But if it comes to one-liners, two guys that will be right there in the championship hunt will be these two, Warwick and Cleland. How's it going to go this year?
Good. Well, I think it's going to be good. The car seems ever so good. We're on the pace here, and we're looking forward to a good weekend.
It's going to be good to get in and slam the door and know that you've got a car this year that's capable of getting on the podium for a change. We've been racing with people we've never been formally introduced to before, so it's going to be nice to fight with some of the guys at the front for a change.
That was only because they didn't like you, though.
Well, they didn't understand my language. That was one of the problems, so at least I can now move forward.
We still don't understand.
Good eye, mate.
If Vauxhall can't go for the title, there's still old rival Ford to beat. But Ford's guaranteed to grab the headlines after signing Nigel Mansell for 3 rounds. Last time out, in the 1993 Toka shootout at Donington, Mansell certainly did that.
A lot of people in '93 were shortchanged. There was a great race going on. It ended rather abruptly, and hopefully a lot of those fans will come and see one of the races. I don't think Mission is accomplished with everything. I think the fantastic thing I have is that a Formula 1 title is very special. IndyCar title is very special, even more special because they held them 2 simultaneously for 3 weeks. I think the opportunity we have now is actually put something back into the sport. You know, the biggest thrill for me is the 3 racetracks I'm going to race at, and to give the public the opportunity that they haven't been afforded the last 5 years to hopefully see me race for 3 races this year.
Mansell aside, Ford puts its faith in Will Hoy and Craig Baird, with Baird taking over the hot seat from fellow Kiwi Paul Radisich.
For Paul Radisich, the game of musical chairs ends right here with Peugeot. He's joining a team which has never won a round of the Touring Car Championship, but both Paul and his teammate Tim Harvey reckon they'll change all that this year.
I don't think anything's on the cards here. I believe that the Peugeot have really put in a big effort this year to pull out that first victory they so desperately need. And I think with the rule changes is going to bring in a lot of uncertainty. Throw that together and yeah, I think we're in there with as good a chance as anybody.
While most have stuck to driver changes, Audi will be introducing their new A4. After years of winning with 4-wheel drive, regulation changes have forced Audi to follow their competitors and go front-wheel drive. Ivan Muller is the man who developed the front-wheel drive car in Germany last year. He's going to be racing in Great Britain this year, and you can never rule Audi out.
The Audi has not a lot of experience with the front-wheel drive, and okay, we have 1 season experience with myself last year in Germany, but we still have a lot of progress to do, and compared to the other company, we have less experience, so we need to have a bit time to learn. Our job is to try to do the best, and we will see the result.
But if you're looking for a real surprise, just check out the new gang of independents fighting it out for the Autosport Cup. Unbelievably, there's 100 grand on the table for any one of these guys that can actually win a race outright. And on top of that, they got the same race tyres this year as the Works teams. So that's ensured a more competitive, bigger field than ever in the independents.
Matt Neal's Nissan and defending independent champion Rod Gravitt's Honda are the familiar combinations this year. Gravitt and Neal are joined by a strong rookie contingent, and that's headed by 2 Norwegians, Tommy Rustad driving a Renault and Roger Moen in a Honda. Rounding out the independent lineup is Mark Lemmer driving a Vauxhall. He's moved up from the Vauxhall Vectra Challenge of 1997.
So with so many changes, John, it's obviously shaping up as the closest championship ever. You want to be a brave man to pick the winner, though. Feeling brave?
I don't think you need to be that brave. Renault for me in the early rounds, but don't overlook Honda and Volvo. But the real key to the championship is going to be the 1-lap qualifying sessions and also pit stops in the second race. And you can never discount good old British weather.
So there you have it. Renault the guys to beat, but they might just be beaten by the system rather than the new competitors on the block.
Peugeot's Tim Harvey crashed heavily in the first-time qualifying session, the one to decide the grid for the pit stop race, and he looks set to miss out on his first taste of the new system, the first one-shot showdown. His team worked frantically to rebuild the car in time for the session.
stopping.
For the first time, the touring cars have been using F1-style tyre warmers. That's because it's a one-lap, all-or-nothing attempt to get on the grid for the first sprint race. And miraculously, the work of the boys in the Peugeot team meant that Tim Harvey was ready on the grid in time to be first out in the session. And how hard were they trying? David Leslie locking up a rear, hard under brakes into the chicane for the first time. Every driver required to drive at 10 tenths and give 100% commitment and concentration. But no matter how hard they think, even reigning champions can make mistakes. Alain Menu steaming into the chicane on his flying lap. Overcooked it, badly under brakes, missed the chicane, but amazingly still set the fastest time of the day. Unfortunately, that little slip-up was to cost him dearly.
Independent drivers to have gone quicker.
So it was up to Ricard Rydell and the Volvo to try to overthrow Menu. Rydell had set the fastest time in the morning's formal qualifying session for the feature pit stop race. Rydell gave it absolutely everything, straight-lining the curbs through the chicane. And although it looked brilliantly quick, it wasn't quite enough to unseat Menu. But fortunately for Ricard and for Volvo, it didn't matter in the end. Alain Menu was excluded, thrown to the back of the grid for that little accident earlier through the chicane.
It's a good start for sure after all the testing we've done since early February. It's really nice for the team and me, of course, to be up there.
Well, great news for the organisers then for race one.
Yep, I'm afraid I think it's exactly what Toka was hoping for, you know, with like the one-shot showdown. Somebody making a mistake or having a problem and like somebody quick, I mean, and being relegated to the back of the grid, and that's exactly where I am now. So, so I think there were a few happy faces at Toka.
Thruxton is known for its fast-flowing corners, but it's also got a couple of the toughest chicanes in the business and a lot of curb hopping involved. This curb right behind me here, expect drivers to use that one a lot to get a better run at this part of the chicane. But here we are as we go onto the start-finish line. It's one of the toughest chicanes in the business. You can see how high it is. There's a real temptation for drivers to go straight across it and then try to go straight across the next chicane as well. That lifts the car up. It's tough on suspension. It's a real trade-off for different drivers to work out whether to weave around these curbs and be easy on their car, straight line it, save the time, but run the risk as well of doing some real tyre and suspension damage. And this is chicane number 2. It's the Campbell, Cobb and Seagrave complex. This is the first part of it here. The cars come around the crest of that hill in 6th gear doing more than 130. They drop to 2nd gear for the hard right-hander here. The first part of the chicane is where all the overtaking is done. And this is Seagrave, the last corner in the complex. And look, there's a real dip here, right on the apex. The cars snatch 4th gear as they come through. They're going extremely quickly on the journey out to the back of the circuit. And as they come through here, the steering goes light as they're trying to get the power down. It's tricky in the dry, even more difficult in the wet. It's normally no big deal standing next to this guy at the start of a motor race. He is the reigning champion after all, and he's always at or near the front of the grid. But just look at where I'm standing. We're on row 9 of the grid, position 17, and all that lot in front of us to get by. Up the front of the grid, it's Ricard Rydell in the Volvo. He's faster than a scalded cat around this circuit, and he's really the man to beat. John Watson's got the rest of the grid.